And on the telephone with us from Nebrasky Plumbing and Heating, it's the guy, Mr. Paul Nebrasky. Good morning, Paul.
Hey, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Taylor. Hey, good morning, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah. So
I'm a little bit upset today, Frank. I mean, I was listening to you as I do every morning, and you're going on about what's happening today and what today is, and you failed to mention to me the most important part. Today is my 1-year anniversary of being on our town and WTBQ.
Oh my gosh, is it a year already?
It's a year. So
well, wait a second. You didn't come in. We have a cake for you. We have drinks here.
More cake for me.
We have confetti.
What's going on? Yesterday, I see all these cars lined up on my block with balloons and stuff. I'm like, they remembered. And I'm looking for the WTBQ car, and it turned out the kid next door was his birthday.
Well, that's not true. They made a mistake. It was sent to you.
Yeah,
they
it was
just
supposed to
went
be
over
your
to the
stuff.
kid.
Yeah, I don't know how that ever happened.
Well, I'm not paying them.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk to those guys. Oh, well.
So
well, that's
happy anniversary.
Yeah, we're going to
Paul.
have to celebrate when you come back.
It doesn't seem like a year. It really doesn't.
Wow, that's amazing.
Is that amazing?
Absolutely crazy. But you know what? As I was telling Frank before, it's my favorite Wednesday of the month. I just wish I could be there to share it with you.
Me
but
too.
We're going to have some fun today anyway.
Well, maybe when this is over, you'll rethink having your own show.
We're glad to see that nothing's changed in the last year. So absolutely right.
Nothing,
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So Taylor, some things that never changes. We like to give things away. Correct?
Oh yes.
So
you got something to give away?
Well, let's, we got a lot of things to give away, but let's start, and it might change because we like changing on the fly here. Let's start with a $50 gift card.
Okay, very nice.
All right,
that people can use
it. Amazon because Wendy told me do not give away an Amazon gift card.
I
Taylor
agree.
will not be happy with
Not
that.
only not be happy, but let's do it for local people.
Absolutely.
Let's buy local, shop local, use it in your local places.
We can do an absolute $50 local Warwick restaurant gift card. Our Virginia, New Jersey
would be
listener,
great.
we can give a
do it. You know what?
Card.
Do it for Silvio's restaurant. They have great food
Or just
there.
and don't forget, New Jersey listeners can do it too. So he'll give you a $50 gift card you can use anywhere. So
if you call from New Jersey.
Well, of course, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go with our trivia question today, which always has something to do with what we're doing today
please.
and something to do with radio. All right. So, what number one hit country song in 2008 mentions water heaters and plumber in the lyric?
In a country song. Don't they all mention that, Paul? I thought their
no,
horse.
That's pickup
dogs
trucks and women.
Pickup trucks
and women.
Forgot
okay.
the dogs.
It's got the liquor too.
And the liquor and the dogs. So it was the number one song in 2008. This is okay.
And it mentions.
It mentions water heater and plumber in the lyrics.
Really?
You got me on that
country
one.
Song.
Well,
was it a big hit?
It was a number one song.
It was a number one.
Big hit.
One song.
Was it a number one song by a group or a singer?
Oh, you're already asking.
No, that's too much. No hints yet.
Yeah, but Frank answers that. Frank answers
I hope
that.
Do not Google this, Dan. Or
No.
Paul, I don't think I could find the answer to this one if I wanted to.
Is it that song "Water Heaters Are My Favorite"? Next to my horse.
Right. I lost my water heater and my horse.
And my horse.
Maybe.
Yeah. I lost
my wife took the water heater and the horse.
And the horse. Yeah. She got the water heater. I got the shaft. I know that song. Yeah. That's
all right. So I'll give you one hint, and I got more for you. But the one hint, and for the listeners, and listen, we got some country listeners out there who probably know, it was a person, not a group. It was a person, not a group.
Okay, and now you know what?
I think we already have a winner.
What?
Yeah, somebody just called in. I think they have the answer. We're going to let Paul answer that. All right, what's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Andrew from Slate Hill.
All right, Andrew, tell Paul what you think the name of the singer is.
Trace Atkins, song is You're Gonna Miss This.
Oh, my God, that's the quickest we've ever had an answer. Congratulations, Andrew.
Wow. How did you know?
Oh, it's a really good song. Stuck in my head.
Okay,
I thought he was a plumber.
What would you like? Would you like a $50 gift card to a local restaurant?
You want to go to Silvio's for dinner? Well, not now,
sure,
but
someplace local.
Yeah, you could do curbside pickup there too, but you can hold it, and when they reopen, you can go there for dinner.
Sounds excellent.
Oh, okay, great. Well, stay on the line. I'm going to get your information, and we'll get that gift card to you. Then thanks for listening, and enjoy, and be safe out there.
Hey, Taylor, I'm amazed that somebody got this so quickly.
I am too.
I thought we won it all. So you know what I want to do? Let's to celebrate and my anniversary. Let's give another $50 a donation. How about the War Humane Society?
Oh, I love you.
All right. Okay. So I will make a donation of $50 from
thank
myself
you.
and Eileen to
That's
the War
the
Humane
best
Society.
gift of all. And boy, they need it too, believe me. They are
WTBQ. Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, people out there, if you have anything, they have a list on their website. They have they're running out of Clorox and paper towels, and believe me, I went over to feed some of the kittens to bottle feed them. And I don't want to tell you the process you have to go through. It's not just about bottle feeding, but they need paper towels and wipes and everything there. And
Yeah, join the crowd.
And a lot of
Exactly.
If I had to do that to Frank to stimulate his eating, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, that would be
Trouble
that would be
can't
pretty
even
rough.
describe it.
That would be pretty rough, Paul. But no, thanks a lot for that, and I'm sure they're going to appreciate that. And it's great during this to be able to have some fun with that. Our listenership is like through the roof recently, though, too, because people are tuned in to see what's going on locally. Because hey, this is a local thing that affects everybody that listens to us, and we're a little different than what's going on in the rest of the country. So it's kind of cool to have you on with us and give us at least some ideas on what's going on in plumbing and heating.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that.
Sure.
So one of the biggest questions I've been getting for the last really 10 years, and really now where everybody's at home using a lot of hot water, is what about a tankless water heater? Do I need a tankless water heater? I want a tankless water heater, but I hear good and bad about it. And Taylor, the question, or even Dan or Frank, is do you guys really know what a tankless water heater is?
I have
Because
no
a lot of people
idea.
call me up and ask.
All I know is that it's very flat looking and that when you want hot water, it's on demand.
There you go. The actual answer to that, I would say, Paul, is that it's a gas-fired unit that can heat. It uses a tremendous amount of gas at any point in time to heat up the water instantly, so that you get water relatively quick and endlessly, right? If it's done right.
Yeah, so the main difference between the two is a tanked water heater, which most people in the United States have, I would say 90% has 40 or 50 or 60 gallons of hot water in that tank. And there's a flame underneath it, just like heating up or it could be electric, a pot of water, and it takes a long time to heat the water up, very inefficiently. And that water sits in the tank all day long when you're not using it, and the heater goes off and on all day long to heat that water up.
Yeah, so the amount of money you're spending on whatever electric source you're using isn't worth it. You might as well if you don't have natural gas, you can get propane tanks, right?
Yeah, we'll go over the pros and cons on that. That's a great point, Taylor. So with a tanked tankless water heater, it's a lot smaller. It sits on the wall. And when you said it uses a tremendous amount of gas, Frank, it uses more gas, at the beginning, but in the long run, over a course of a year, a lot less gas because it's not turning on all day long. It's on demand. It only turns on when you turn your faucet on for hot water.
And that's the big deal, right? Because when you have a tanked water heater, that water in there is to a certain degree all the time. And of course, as well insulated as they are, they still lose the heat that's inside there to the outside room. And probably actually is a hindrance in the summertime when you're trying to keep your house cool, right?
Well, generally they're in your garage, but yes. But it is. And so one other thing I want to bring up, and I think you might have mentioned it, Tyler, one of the biggest misconceptions about an on-demand water heater, yes, it's on demand, but it's not instant, meaning that it's endless, Frank. Once you turn it on, it's going to run. You will never run out of hot water if you use it properly, but it's not going to give you instant hot water at your tap because it still has to get to the tap. So kind of, Taylor, you've talked about before how you have to wait forever at your hot water, for hot water.
And by the way, lately, I just noticed that this week, the water in the kitchen is not getting hot. I don't know why.
Oh, boy.
It takes forever to get warm, and it never gets really hot.
Well, it's a function in that house. It's a function of the water pressure because it's a well. It's really weird, Paul. Sometimes you can't get super hot water. Sometimes you can.
But I've never had that problem in the kitchen. So my question to you would be, if we got that and got propane, how much propane would we have to use with two people showering and normal, washing machine and dishes?
Well, a lot less, and we'll get into that in a second on the pros and cons. But if you save about 30%, okay, of gas using an on-demand hot water heater, okay? So an on-demand, over life expectancy of a on-demand water heater, you're going to save about $1,800 in gas. So it uses less gas than if you had a tanked heater. But again, Taylor, that might not fix that problem while you're not getting hot water. I would really have to look at that. And I think when this pandemic's over, for everything we need to do at your house.
Oh, my God, you'll be there for a year. You'll be celebrating your second anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be there for my second. That will be my present, my second anniversary present.
I definitely want central air.
Oh, by the way,
before you want a tankless water heater.
Before you even do that, Paul, she already has, in essence, a tankless water heater because hers works off the furnace. It isn't really, there's not really a big water heater type thing. I don't know how that works. It works off of oil.
You're 100% right, Frank. So you have an oil boiler with a coil in it.
Yeah. So that's similar to.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it's very similar to what you're talking about, but not quite as efficient, I would assume.
Well, it's not a great question, Frank, which I didn't even think of today. So oil boilers with a tank, a tankless coil, which isn't really allowed anymore because they're really not efficient. In the winter, when you're running your heat, basically you're getting free hot water. But all summer long, when your heat's not on, you have to heat that whole entire boiler up to heat your hot water, Frank.
Wow.
So a tank in a coil in your boiler is a very inefficient way of heating hot water because you got to run that big boiler all year long to heat your hot water, if that makes sense, right?
But it's more of an instant and more almost like an endless supply of water, though, the way it works.
Correct. It is almost like an endless supply of hot water.
Yeah.
Okay, but not efficiently.
Not efficient. Okay. So
not efficiently. So great question. So the biggest difference between a on-demand hot water heater, and the brand I use is Rinnai. There's a lot of brands out there. I'm not saying one brand is better than the other, but before I take on a brand, I'll use them. I'll put them in my own house. I'll use them, what test them out. And I found Rinnai to be the best brand out there for my customers and my listeners. Okay, so here's a very interesting fact. One Rinnai tankless hot water heater will give you 240 gallons of hot water an hour.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, which is the equivalent of 6 40-gallon hot water heaters, Taylor.
Wow.
So you would need.
You can't use that up.
You can't use that up, and that's the great. Now, if you have an electric water heater, it's the equivalent to 10. So that is really one of the big pros of a on-demand hot water heater. So it's endless. It's endless. Another pro that we talked about a little bit, Frank, and I'm sure you've seen this on some of the shows you watch. This tankless water heater is small.
Yeah.
So you can put it in a closet. If you put it in properly, you can put it a lot different places than you can a big 50, 60-gallon hot water heater, which is large.
Sure.
All right. So that's a really, really big pro. Another pro, we talked about energy savings, a huge, about 40% less energy than a standard tank, and longer product life. So a regular hot water heater that we put in all the time, it's our biggest seller, lasts about 8 to 10 years in our county. Really depends on what type of water you have, but water is corrosive, and it eventually eats out a standard water heater in 8 to 10 years. I think I asked the other day, Frank, when was the last time you changed your water heater in a Jersey house? And you said it was like 15 years.
It's actually even more than that, Paul. It could be I could be on 25 years, but I don't use it much. I don't know if that's I don't use a lot of hot water.
It much, probably once a year.
There's two things. The least you use it with the expansion and contraction when it heats up helps, and really you probably have good water where you are at. I'm not sure what the water is there.
Yeah, I used to go through them, when I would use it a lot, but now that I'm not really using hot water, but I use it occasionally, I'm amazed it's still working. I've never seen one last, that's like 3 times the length of anything I've ever had.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're not my customer down there because I haven't had a chance to change your water heater. I should have changed it twice already now.
Yeah, easily. But they don't. You said they don't even make them as 80 gallons anymore?
No, they do not make, again, energy efficiency. They felt the 80-gallon electric was not efficient enough.
So what happens? Do I run out of hot water real quick then?
So we either go with a 50-gallon water heater, and they make a booster for it, which is really defeating the purpose, or we go to an on-demand. Or we go to an on-demand or switch over to gas somehow. All
right, so when you're talking about gas, these heaters that you're talking about, these instant heaters, they have to be off of gas. Can they get electric or no?
They absolutely make electric on-demand water heaters, Frank and Taylor, but they really are not good on the residential side because they need a huge amount of electric.
They're the tankless water heater?
Yeah, electric tankless water heater.
Electric.
Because they have to heat the water so quick, Frank.
Right.
You literally need like a 50-amp breaker, which most people are not going to have.
No.
Now in my house, I have all electric heat, so I am electric to the max in there. So
you're right, at his house.
Yeah, so it would be basically, something that may even be existing in there. I think I don't know how many amp service I have, 100 or 200, but that is a consideration because that's drawing a lot of power.
Yeah, so we very, very rarely, I think I've done one put electric on-demand water heaters on. We do electric point-of-use water heaters underneath the sink, but they're tiny, and they operate off 110 and a 20-amp circuit. So really, most of what we put in, 98% of what we put in is gas and propane. And another really pro of that is, so we said the regular tank heater lasts 8 to 10 years. An on-demand water heater can last up to 20 years. So it's double the life of an on-demand water heater because there's no water sitting in there to corrode the heater away.
And it's a lot easier to replace, too, because I know getting rid of that big 80-gallon tank is like I don't even know how they do that.
Right. It's not easy. We send 2-3 guys over. We've had water heaters we had to cut to get out. And that's another great point you bring up, Frank. Not only that, when a tanked water heater leaks, you have to change the whole entire water heater.
Sure.
A on-demand water heater, we can just change a part. Okay, you don't have to necessarily change the whole hot water heater. We can just change a part.
I've had problems, too. When these water heaters go bad, the old tanked units, sometimes they could short out, too, right, and take the circuit breaker with them?
Well, on electric you can. On electric it absolutely can.
Yeah.
Okay. We've had that also. So really, so now we talked about all the great things about putting a on-demand water heater in your house here in Warwick, and now we're going to talk about cons because Taylor, you mentioned to me the other time, that you heard bad things about them. And
I did,
unfortunately, like anything we sell or anybody sells, things get bad names because they weren't put in properly or the customer wasn't told up front what to expect with the water heater.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay,
yeah, we've had those plumbers.
Well, we don't put them in, and it's funny, Frank, and you asked me the other day about this old house. And believe it or not, when these first came out, these home shows hurt me a little bit because they were putting in these on-demand water heaters in every job, and they were making it look like they worked fantastically. But they were, and then my customers were calling me to put them in, and we put a couple in, and guess what? They didn't work properly. Why? Because it wasn't the right situation, and they don't mention that on the show. So let me go over some of the cons and why you wouldn't put a hot water heater, on-demand water heater in. First of all is expense. If you're building a new house, a on-demand hot water heater compared to the type of water heaters, a tanked water heater that's out today, isn't that more expensive? Say maybe $700 to $800, which sounds like a lot of money, but not. You're going to get that back in 1 year in your savings. And plus you have a heater that's going to last 10 years.
Sure.
But if I'm taking out your tanked water heater in your New Jersey house, Frank, and putting it on demand, I have to completely repipe the whole entire system. It's piped differently, okay? And I have to run a new vent. I have to redo the gas. So you can have a cost of about $5,000 to go from your tanked heater to your on-demand heater. Compared to if I just changed that electric water heater for you, approximately $1,500. So, on a replacement, your it's a lot more money. It's about $3,500 more to go from one heater to the other.
That's a big change there. Obviously the benefits eventually are going to catch up. You said in the energy savings and the fact that you're not going to be replacing them as much. Plus, it gives you more room wherever it may happen to be. I have it in a laundry room area, sort of. So you walk in the laundry room and you're trying to do laundry, you bounce up against the water heater because it takes up the big corner of that little room. But that's where they had to put it.
And the customers we put them in for absolutely love them. Another con, and you knew I would have to bring this up, is our friend today was on Neil, right? So Neil has, 12 bathrooms, 13 bathrooms? I lose count every day.
He keeps building new bathrooms
adds
every
a new
time
one every
you come
week,
on.
Yeah. He's got a porta potty outside now. He's so happy.
He's got 8 bathrooms.
Okay, because I figured if they have the graduation at the drive-in, they can use Neil's house to use the bathroom.
That's for sure, yeah.
He has more than they do, trust me.
Exactly. So if you have a very large house with a lot of people and a lot of hot water that you're going to run, a single tank might not do the job, and then you would need 2 tanks. Okay, only if you could run multiple things at the same time. So if you do have a lot of people in the house and you want to run 3 showers at the same time and run the laundry, you're going to need 2 tankless heaters. So
now,
that could be a con.
Do they run at the same time?
So what happens with a tankless heater? The first one turns on. And say you're only using the kitchen sink and doing laundry. It turns on and it runs. Once somebody turns on a shower, if you need a second one, and then there's a computer in there and the second one turns on. So it knows to turn on. So they will run at the same time if needed, Frank.
Now, you were telling me that you actually have 3 in your house. But I thought the coolest thing you told me was that, if you're using number 1 all the time, it knows and it switches to number 2 and then to number 3 so that they all start getting used, even if you're only using 1 at a time.
Exactly. So you don't run into that problem where you go to use it, and like when we first turned on a lawnmower and sat all year long from that being turned on, it doesn't turn on. So they know when to turn on. But there's very few houses in Orange County that need more than 1. So you're going to say, Paul, why do you have more than 1? Well, 1, because I can. No, but
but you have a big house too. I think
and
it
more
depends
than
on
a big house, it goes by the amount of hot water you're going to use. And if you guys remember this, because I have a car wash shower that I call it. That looks like a car wash. You
oh
turn
yes,
it on,
I remember it well.
Right, and it hits you from all directions.
I was waiting to pay to go in.
Well, you know what? There we go. I'm going to retire again. I'm going to sell my shower, right, and my bidet, and that will work perfectly.
Calling number 4.
Yeah, and so what happens is it absolutely. So that shower uses an enormous amount of hot water. So in that situation, 1 tankless heater will not work.
Well, that would be for Frank, because when he goes in to take a shower, an hour later I have to go in to check and see if he's still alive.
That's right. And my skin is bright red.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But and that's another pro. So if you have a tankless hot water heater, I talked about this too. When people are coming into your house and now you have 5, 6 people home, the kids are home because we're in this pandemic and everybody's taking showers, your tanked heater runs out of hot water. Where your tankless hot water, you can run 100 showers a day,
and nothing happens.
One after the other. It's never going to run out of hot water.
Although I will say that most people, I'm watching some of the celebrities on Zoom, are saying, they're asking each other, when was the last time you took a shower? And some of them are saying like 2-3 days.
That's not good.
Ew.
Paul, when it comes to the, is this important too? When it comes to the shower head itself, they have restricted shower heads that slow it down.
Those.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
I took the stuff out of mine.
Right. So what happens, because Taylor took hers out, you can't stay in there consistently for hot water. It tends to get cooler and then hot and then cool. It varies and fluctuates because she's pumping out a lot of water very quickly.
So, Frank, you hit one of the cons we were going to talk about. So part of the reason we had trouble when we first started putting these in 10 years ago, the country did not have the water restrictions that we have now on plumbing. So we are allowed by code to have a shower head that can flow 2.2 gallons a minute. The old ones were 5, 6 gallons a minute. Taylor, you took yours out. You're a restrictor. You can't do that in the shower heads anymore.
Okay, come and arrest me.
Okay, and the problem is you're going to run out of hot water quicker with that. And number 2, the on-demand will not work as well because it's made to run about 4 gallons a minute of hot water, which should be 2 showers without a problem at going at the same time.
But I like the pressure of the water, and you don't get that if you have that restrictor in there.
The newer shower heads are engineered better for it to work.
Which is the best shower head for that?
They really are. So
Which one?
We went and when this first came out in this old house, and all my customers asked me for them, we went and put them in, and the people were calling me, and they're like, we can't even take 1 shower. The water doesn't get hot enough. It's cold. And I'm like, well, here's the instructions. It says you can take up to 2 showers or 3 at the same time. Then I realized that they had taken a flow restrictor out of their shower, Frank. And guess what? Once we put that flow restrictor back in, they were like, Taylor, they weren't happy. They're like, they weren't happy. So,
I like the pressure of the water. What would be the best shower head to buy to have that kind of pressure? Good pressure.
I mean, there's a bunch of them, Taylor. They're all really good right now. They really. Growing makes a great one.
Because I bought this a year ago, the new shower head. The other one I had for like 10 years, I think. And it isn't as heavy as the one before, but I took the restrictor out because it was so light, I didn't even feel like I was getting wet.
Right. And the reason, as you mentioned, Frank, on your heater, that what we call a coil, it gets hot and cold because the water's going through the coil too quickly to heat the water.
And that's, because you're drawing so much. I had a problem once where I had a plumber come and replace my shower and with that restrictor in there. But when I took the restrictor plate out of the shower head, it messed up the flow. It was like part of it was still flowing out of the bottom. It wouldn't work. The whole shower system wouldn't work.
And the new ones won't either. I'm
is that what it is?
Got one Taylor you're able to take out. Most of today's shower heads are built into it, so you cannot take it out. But they really work.
Yeah.
The newer ones really work. I have a new house, as you know. They're all restricted shower heads, and I have plenty of pressure and throughout the house.
All right.
So the new and talking about water, Frank, bringing to us to a really tough con in our area. With an on-demand hot water heater, because it heats the water up so quickly and it slows it down a little bit, you need really good water quality. So if you have bad water quality or hard water, and where you boil a pot and you get the lime in there from the hard water, it will lime up your on-demand water heater within months. So if you have bad water quality that you're not taking care of, I cannot sell you an on-demand hot water heater because it will not work properly. It will go bad, and not bad. We can clean it. We use vinegar to clean it out, but within a couple of months, you could have me at the house saying it's not working properly. So for an on-demand water heater, you really need good water quality. And we have a lot of wells here that don't have great water quality.
We have a fairly new water softener. I think it's like 2 years old.
So your water quality would most likely be fine. So what we do now...
Yeah, as long as Frank remembers to put those pellets in.
Well, yeah, we all forget that, Frank. So
it's not on the big list there, yeah.
So what we do with our customers, and they call up and they say, hey, we want an on-demand water heater. So we'll go to their house, we'll have an upfront conversation with them. How's your water? We'll actually test your water. Or you have old shower heads that are not 2.2 gallons a minute. How much hot do you take more than one shower at a time? You have 3 people showering at the same time. Do you have more bathrooms than Neil? We ask a lot of questions.
That's on the list of questions, huh?
That's on the list of questions.
That's pretty good.
As we get those answers to those questions and we have a conversation with the customer, we check off and we say, we can put an on-demand water heater in for you and it will work fine, or we cannot. Or if you want one, you just have to understand how it's going to work, that you can run 2 showers and a dishwasher at the same time, but if you have 4 people in the house and they're all showering at the same time, you're going to lose pressure. So long as you have that on-demand, you have that upfront conversation on demand, we found that customers are very happy. But I will tell you, when I first started putting them in, I took as many out for the customers as I put in.
Interesting. But, Paul, I think it comes down to that you have to really sit down and figure out what you need, because if it's not done, not that it's not installed properly, it can all be installed properly, but if it's not set up the way that it's being used properly, it's never going to work right. Things are just going to have hot water, cold spot, all sort of crazy things. This plumbing thing is not something that anybody can do themselves. You really need to get somebody to sit down and map the whole thing out based upon your usage and where everything in the house is located and how many of any particular item you have. It's like a science.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's where we went wrong at the beginning, our industry. And that's why there is some bad vibe or bad press about on-demand water heaters, which we're working very hard as an industry, Renai, who I work with, to get rid of the bad press and bad what people say about it. And you even said to me, Taylor, the other day when I was talking about it, you said, a lot of people say they don't work. Right. It's not that they don't work; it's that we didn't give an upfront conversation, or not that they weren't put in properly, like you said, Frank. They weren't explained to the customer.
So if somebody wants to have one put in their house, is there a set price, or does it depend on the installation?
It depends fully on the installation. Okay, but if I had to give you an average, it's about $5,000 to $6,000, compared to taking out, as I said, a tank heater, whereas approximately, between $1,500, about $1,500.
What's the actual price of the unit itself?
The units itself run in the $2,000 to $2,500 range just for the unit. Then you need vent piping. You need the gas piping. So that's another kind I should have talked about, Frank, a little bit. You need a lot of times we need to put a larger gas pipe in.
So in other words, you mean from where the gas source is too?
Right. So your standard tank heater is 50,000 BTUs, just talking in plumbing terms. So you need a half-inch pipe to run that. Your on-demand water heater is 199,000 BTUs. Now, why you say how's that efficient? Because it only heats up, if you only need 50,000 of BTUs of hot water, it only heats up to 50,000. Okay? It only goes to 199,000 if all the showers are running. So that 199,000 might need a 1-inch gas line. So we have to change that gas line. And that's another thing we have to look at for the customer.
What about the vent pipe? Can you use the old one that's there?
You cannot, and that's what adds to the cost of it with material and labor. The old tanked water heaters, most of them work off a metal chimney vent. The new heaters, because they're high efficiency, actually can be vented with PVC plastic. We actually vent them with plastic.
All right.
Okay, and so they're really, really an interesting subject. We sell a lot of them. We get calls for them every single day. But I will tell you, in new construction, I feel it is the absolute way to go. If you're building a new house or renovating and already doing the work and getting rid of that water heater and changing what you do, I always recommend for the proper customer who has good water and understands the usage and on demand. On a change out, it could get a little pricey, but it will pay for itself, and you will have, on-demand hot water, and you will have hot water all the time. Okay? Where if you're running out of hot water, like a lot of people do, you will not run out of hot water with an on-demand water heater. So is that worth the pain for you? Is that worth the extra money?
Yeah. Well, what about the, if you have it in, say, a garage or an unheated space at this time, since they're so small, would it be worthwhile to bring it indoors to a more controlled temperature space? Would that work better?
You really don't have to. They're insulated well. They're only turning on when you need to. I don't have a problem in putting them in a garage. I really don't. But the great part about it is you can bring them indoors. You can put them in a closet. In Florida and in the South, this is great. They put them outside, Frank. They hang them outside your house.
And nobody walks away with those things.
I've seen that in the state of Florida. They do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's pretty cool.
Well, listen, I mean, if somebody wants to take off your water heater off your house and stuff, and that would be ballsy. But I guess they could walk away with them, right? And I'd be a little nervous. But so they don't use any space; they just put them right outside, and they vent right to the outside in Florida.
Well, they even put washers and dryers outside, don't they, or something? I've seen in some of these renovations they were doing out in California or out down there. It is kind of wild what you do because the weather is just better all the time. The next time I talk to you, I've got to talk a bit about. I was watching. Here we go again. One of these This Old House things, and it was about heating and cooling. They were doing air conditioning, but because the house was so massive, they couldn't use the same type of unit through the whole house. They didn't want to have all these different units, and they came up with on the third floor some type of a unit. Now, rather than those ones you put on the wall, they actually had a unit that could be up to like 150 feet away outside. They put it behind a retaining wall, so it's very quiet, and then they run the piping inside, and it cools the whole floor.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. It's coming up to air conditioning season, hopefully, right? It's been the latest air conditioning season I've had in my 32 years. And maybe our next Art Town would do a air conditioning.
Yeah, because we run out of time because we got Steve Newhouse calling in soon, and we got to go to the news. We got to get your own show here, Paul.
Well, listen, if
there's
somebody
so
to
much
kick me
more.
off the air for it, I'll take Steve Newhouse at any time.
I hear you.
I have no problem kicking me off for Steve Newhouse.
Yeah, because he's going to be calling in a few minutes. I know we have to go to news.
We miss having Paul in though.
I know.
Because,
he's got to get a weekly show.
I learned so much about this stuff. I feel like I'm an expert.
So does everybody else.
Really, yeah. So
it's not just about you.
But it's the whole thing. You learn the idea. Will it work? How much is it going to cost? How much will it save? Is it going to work for us? And I think that's what it all comes down to, and that's what Paul and his guys there sit down with you and they figure before you make a move like that.
It's even more than that. It's the quality of the work they do, and that's the key thing here.
Well, thank you guys. And Renai has a great website also. Let me spell it for you.
RINNAI.
No,
RINNAI.
I
forgot the extra N.
Right. Renai.com, they have a great website you can go to there. They have great videos where it could, really tell you the difference if you have any questions. My website is nebraskyplumbing.com. And you really, any questions, call me. And if the listeners have any questions, even if they're, congratulations on the new satellite dish in New Jersey. Customers that aren't even in my...
Not satellites, FM.
FM. I'm sorry.
Okay. Satellite.
Well, I thought you put a new satellite dish up to get FM.
No.
Well, we put a new antenna up.
No, it's an FM antenna.
Okay, that's why I'm a plumber, not a radio guy, Frank. Okay,
and that's why you're the plumber.
Yeah, that's why I'm the radio guy and I'm not the plumber. So it's pretty
good. Exactly. Send us a question, email. We'll answer all questions. That we missed my anniversary. I'm starting to get over that now.
All right. We're going to have a
when you get back in, you got to get back in
we're
for us to do that.
Yeah, we're going to have a belated celebration.
We'll have your Bloody Mary here waiting for you.
No. Dan, Eileen has to make that.
Dan, wonderful. All right. We'll
tell
have
Eileen
it before you go to school.
Yeah, tell Eileen where to go.
School.
And Paul, you're still doing just emergency repair work? Or what?
No. We are fully 100% open for full business. All business right now. Call us for whatever you need. We have we're essential business. Originally, we were just doing emergency because the men were scared about going to people's houses. People did not want us in their house. Now people are okay, and we're okay. So what we're doing is we will have hand sanitizer with us, wipes if we can find them. We have masks that we change daily, all our PPE equipment when we walk into your house. We ask the homeowner that they please have a mask on also when they enter the door.
And stay 6 feet away.
Yeah, and they stay 6 feet away with us, okay?
Right, for sure.
And we will absolutely be there for you. We will stay safe for both of us. So we are getting, the good thing is, Frank, 3 weeks ago, we were getting maybe 1 or 2 calls a day. Normally, we average 24 calls a day. This week alone, we're averaging 6, 7, 8, 9 calls a day, which shows us
Good, so
that
it's
people,
coming back.
It's coming back. People want us in their houses. Hopefully it comes all the way back soon, but I do understand where customers, they're worried about financially, and they're worried about our technicians coming to their house. But they can be rest assured we are coming to their house.
They just want to be safe for themselves, too. Go ahead, tell them about the hand sanitizer.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
FusionCBD.com is where you got it from, and they are phenomenal. I can't recommend them highly enough. I love their scent.
We have all their stuff
Everybody
here.
loves it.
Yeah,
it really is.
we do.
And they're local.
All right, so Paul, the main thing is that not only do you guys want to stay safe, you want them to be safe. It's done correctly, and what's going to happen? You're going to get slammed in another week as soon as that temperature hits 80 degrees.
I'm really worried about that, Frank, because how do we answer calls that we haven't had for the last month all in one day? But it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
We're really looking forward to that. We're looking forward to the construction side, opening up of our business, which is still closed at this point. Not closed that we won't work for you, closed that, it's closed right now. That is phase 1 of opening.
And that should be later, maybe this week or next week. We'll see as that, we'll talk with Steve and find out where we stand with that coming up in a little bit. But that we're getting close, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to it. I'm looking to getting back into the station. And if anybody wants to send me, anniversary gifts, that's fine too. When I was going to say, I have
good
no
luck with that.
Well, we're holding the chair. The chair's got a,
the chair's got your name on it.
And we're going to just have to eat your cake today. So that's
we'll eat it for you. Look how good
don't
friends
drink my Bloody Marys, Dan. I'll be fine. Okay.
Eileen is bringing the Bloody Marys. She does them the best. There's nobody doing it better.
All right. So
all right, Paul,
thanks again. Paul Nebrasky, thanks again. Stay safe out there yourself.
Nebrasky
and we'll
Plumbing
talk with
and
you
Heating.
soon.
All right. Any questions, email me. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, Paul.